That's got to be hard being two actors. I wouldn't do well with another actor. Oh no, there's only room for one of us.
We're pretty good.
You guys are great.
I can't imagine another actor I could be.
And we were working this summer together, and we'd snap at each other a couple times, but it was
as long as she knew that you were more famous, it all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the director on the second day had to stop us from directing each other.
Because she
Which did you
elbowed
work
him
on?
out of the way to give me my note.
Ted, okay, the only reason, the only thing.
That's such a true story, though.
No, but it's so, yeah, but he's not telling you the whole truth. The whole truth is, I'm so stupid, I give him a note in front of the director, out loud, right?
Were you like with headphones on behind the monitor?
Practically.
No, she was in the scene with me.
I didn't say, I went, well, he was struggling with it, and I knew what he needed to do. I know him so.
What was the note? What was the
It was a
specific
good note. I hadn't found any way to hook into the realness of it. It was written kind of like it was very speechy kind of moment, and I couldn't get past
What
being
movie is this? Because
speechy.
it sounds great.
Oh, it is. It's Beth Henley.
Shut
No,
up,
it's
it
really
is
good.
great, and
No,
it was a
you will
great
love it.
script, but there was one thing that was like,
Very famous writer. Go on, sorry.
well, the point is that I did it out loud, and
Everybody
you,
was thinking it on the set.
well, everybody,
You just said what everybody else was thinking.
No.
Everybody else wanted to say it to
No,
Ted.
I would give her notes very covertly.
yeah, he did. He was like the stealth note giver.
What were your notes to her? I mean, like what?
Hand signals.
Yeah.
Over the top.
You're going over the top. Is that it that you two weren't real? Because that's probably what somebody close to you would feel like you're acting.
Yes,
more
and I
than
was.
a
I was
stranger.
acting up a
But now, is this
storm.
one of
You
those
were
things where
200%
if you give him his note the wrong way, he
No.
now can't take it?
No, she's right. By the way, her notes are actually great.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And were really needed.
You know, the director, it wasn't like he was incapable, but I felt, hey, in this void of not telling Ted the truth, I'll jump in and do it. And so I did, and in front of everybody, I got called on the carpet.
We had a little huddle. He pulled us over.
And he said, stop
Guys,
that.
guys, you
you
can't
stop
do
that
this.
right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he acknowledge you were right at least?
And then, you know what? I think he had acknowledged it when the whole movie was over.
He did?
Yeah. Or
He used
either
the-
that,
he
or I
used the
just,
good tape.
either that, or I
He used
just
the good
made that up in my head.
It's a Jewish ritual to name kids after dead relatives. And it starts to really make sense as you watch your kids grow up because you start to feel that thing. It brings up that thing. And even with living relatives, too, where I see my dad talking to my kids, and it's like we're little by little resolving. It's like watching a movie of your childhood, and you get to deal with it
Again.
like a Woody Allen movie, like walking back to the cyclone, living under the cyclone, and getting to interact with yourself younger.
You're right.
We're
You're
dealing
right.
with your inner child because it looks like you, and it looks like and watching all these things come out. It's a really healing experience that a lot of people, certainly in this town, don't deal with early enough. They postpone that sort of adulthood.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's
postpone having children.
having
you mean?
kids, not being a teenager. Well, I think ultimately it's a thing that a lot of people end up losing because they don't go through the normal cycle of life that you would had you would never come here.
Yeah.
And you're also deprived of it because either you're in the public eye or you're dealing with issues that, lucky people's problems. But relationships don't work out too well here. Kids, it's hard to be a kid growing up here. You don't have to worry about economic things, but there's all this crazy minefield of shit that you got to deal with that you would never have to deal with.
And you know what? Just being out of town, which
I know.
we're all talking about, I mean, it's very hard. Forget about whether you're a shallow Hollywood type or a, wise person. Being away X amount of time is very hard on a relationship, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, I think you grow in different ways, different experiences, and it is very hard.
And the odds are against you too if you go away, if you spend time away and you can't bring your family with you everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you can't recapture those moments with children. You don't get to go back and
No.
see those soccer games, you
Right.
know. And also for the person who's working and you are having this big intimate experience with all these people, then your spouse has no clue what you're talking about, and you're trying to tell them who everyone is and tell them what's funny, and it's like you're always playing catch up on each other's lives as opposed to experiencing each other's lives.
And trying to get to a place of such trust in a relationship where you can listen to your partner be in such bliss and not feel vulnerable that you're not part of that bliss, you know? Oh my God, it's just so amazing. Then we had dinner and so-and-so's so funny and so-and-so's so great. And it's just, I'm having the most incredible time of my life, and you're
Or worse, you're toning it down and pretending it isn't as great as it is, because it is great. It is.
Right.
Working is
Exactly.
like delicious.
Absolutely.
And then the other, you're especially on location because you meet people, and sometimes people can give the impression that what you're doing or who you are is the most exciting thing. And you call home, and and they're dealing with the kids.
Take the trash out because you weren't there to do it.
Everyone knows that I'm
Clueless about
clueless
baseball.
about baseball.
Really?
Clueless.
Wow.
To this day, well, once I started going white with my hair, when I stopped dyeing my hair brown, it changed. But when I had brown hair,
Wait, how does that work? Brown hair means what?
means that I was recognizable as Sam. Now people kind of go.
Brown hair
knew
means
more about
understand
baseball.
sports?
No, but when I was more Sam-like, I could walk through any bar and everyone would go, "Hey, Sammy!" I was instantly a jock, even though I know nothing, except basketball. I was instantly, I was one of those guys, and I'm so not. So I just I trained myself to go, "Hey, back." And that's all you have to say. Sorry to say. I said it 1,000 times. Hey, and I'm in.
I had met George Wendt when I was in Chicago washing dishes at Second City. He came by Second City because he's an alumni from there. He'd come and sit in the improv sets, which is something alumni do. And so we ended up hanging out with Norm in Chicago.
Right.
And it freaked me out so much about what fame was like. It was my first taste of, he would walk into a bar and everybody would scream Norm at him and he would turn around and walk out. And it was like you felt like you were moving around with the president, where people have to go in advance and go to a restaurant that's closed, because that's about as famous as you get. Him on that show in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Walking into a bar.
It made me walk into a bar.
I still feel stunned, if I know you and I've had that. We'll be at lunch and feel so weird that someone's like staring at us, like, sure, there's something.
You had been around it before you experienced it through your parents, right?
That whole aspect of it, but it was such a different time too. I think it's continued to shift. Like I think the way fans was different. American Film, I think, was the only movie magazine at the time. There was no Entertainment Weekly or, there was the machine wasn't set up.
So they knew you through your work exclusively?
Yeah, they knew you through your work, and they were a fan and coming up to you from that, and there weren't really junkets.
You're also the daughter of two particularly fine actors. So, the people that probably did recognize them were people that were interested in film, and you're not the daughter of just pop culture figures.
Yeah, and it shifted, like when I was a teenager, and also I'd started acting, so I was more aware and more interested and more invested in probably all of it, But also my mom was on a television series, and my dad had been in several successful movies, and some of the comedies and big movies, and
Like, I didn't know.
Coming home.
and then
Culture-changing movies.
Yeah.
Black Sunday. A lot of the
But I
films
knew,
he
like,
did were
Roller
like
Coaster,
big,
and
big mainstream action movies. Or he had all.
So did you grow up here?
Yeah, I grew up in LA pretty much, and then it didn't affect me so much. But I think the most impressionable I was, at the whole idea of my parents being asked for autographs and uncomfortable, was early childhood. I bet your kids would say the same thing, because it's like when you're 5 and 6 and you're at the amusement park and a bunch of people are coming around your mom or dad, it's odd. Whereas when you're 12 or 13, you're kind of a little more conscious of what's going on and why it's happening.
Did you have to deal with people thinking you were special because of your parents?
I had to deal with now a good friend it was my first heartbreak in 7th grade. My best girlfriend broke up with me because I thought I was so great because my parents were blah, 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 blah. And I just did my first movie. And I, for 2 weeks, shot this movie. And I came back, and my friends told me they didn't want to be my friend anymore. Yeah, Foxes. They didn't want to be my friend anymore because I thought I was so great.
I'm amazed at people who are able to continue doing, and I say that, I mean, how you're able to do a show for that many years and weather all this stuff and still be seemingly, I don't know you that well, but, just a very that's, I mean, that's amazing to me. I'm always impressed with that, to be able to still weather the storm over years. It's one thing to come in
and be a nice guy, or still continue to go
just
to work.
be a conscious human being who still cares about this experience and living it and enjoying it. And
because a lot of people do go crazy.
A lot of people do go crazy.
And we know it.
Yeah. I mean, where does ambition come? I have a real conflict with that now. It's like I think, well, I should write something. I should do something important. I should do. Another part of me going,
I'm 55. How old are you?
Okay, I'll be 58 in December. I'm 57. I don't know why I just jumped
this
to the next year.
ambition thing is really interesting. I'm finding myself going, where's my ambition? It's like I don't have that adrenaline pump that I used to when I was younger. I want this. I'm going to get this. I'm gonna, and I'm going, is this an age thing?
Yeah.
Is this a wisdom thing? Is it a
a
wisdom thing that because it's it's doing this, that they give you a little compensation?
Yeah.
I interrupted you. But
No, but that's very much it. But there's something about life and the experience, and to be able to be here and to. And so it's a conflict, and I don't quite know how to.
I think it is a blessing of, one, being able to have done what you wanted to do in life. Because I'm sure there are people our age who are angry because they didn't get to do that. So it is a blessing that that we were able to do what we like doing.
Yes.
But then I do think it is an age thing where I was listening to this conversation and I'm totally interested about art and passion in politics, and I'm finding my world of interest going woo, down really, not in this conversation, but I mean in life.
Yeah, I knew I was.
I just want to talk about me. I just want to talk about me.
What was it like working on Ghostbusters, by the way? One of my favorite movies growing up.
Yeah, it was. I'm so glad to. It's funny. I think I know you guys. There's so much work you do that kind of gets lost, like the film we did. But it's nice to have something that actually gets out there and it does make an impression and people like. And
are you still the guy from Ghostbusters, by the way?
well, I don't think there's a time I do any shopping. I'm on the street that somebody doesn't say, "Who you gonna call?" You know what I mean? It's like it just never ends. It's just "Hey Ernie, who you gonna call?" And they say it like it's the first time I ever heard it. You know what I mean? It's like, "Hey, how about a beer?" Right.
Your money. I know.
Yeah, that's great. And I think probably the thing I like most
Don't look
about
at me.
what
Do you
we
get that from
do
Blue Velvet a lot?
is that it seems to make people happy. I mean, you see somebody who's like, he's really down, like he doesn't have a hope in the world of anything, and then he sees you and it's like, and all of a sudden the spirit is up, and it's like, oh wow, and so that to be able to do that is
It's
a
not
blessing.
like we're Stallone and people are trying to kick our ass.
Right?
and
Yeah.
prove that
But what was it like working on it? Was there a lot of improv with Bill Murray and that whole Second City crowd?
It was some. Yeah, Bill especially, but it was some. It wasn't probably.
That movie was so much better than it needed to be.
Well, it still holds up after all this time.
It does.
That's true.
But it
That's
was
well
a
said.
challenge in other ways. I mean, I wasn't part of that group. I wasn't part of Second City, and I came from a different. I mean, I was an actor. It's a different experience. So it was hard in many ways. And after it came out, living here in L.A. and not really making hardly any money. And I was living in an apartment near Pico and Robertson. And the movie was such a phenomenon when it came out. And of course, the money I made, the little money was like gone. I was like the local tourist attraction. If you went to the store on the corner, the guy would say, "Hey, you see that movie, The Ghostbusters? The guy, the black guy. He lives at 1476. Just go. He's a nice
No
guy."
way. They told him your dress?
And you didn't have
knock
any
on the
gates in
door.
front of your
no
mansion.
gates, no gates, no
Right.
protection.
Oh,
And
my
people
God.
at 10 o'clock at night, oh my God, it's really you. We just got here from Iowa. This is my wife. Oh, this is
Oh my God! Well, how amazing is that?
Unbelievable. My wife and I moved up to Lake Arrowhead because it just got so crazy.
Did you literally try to get out of town because of that?
We got out of town, and I couldn't afford to buy a house in L.A., so we went up to Arrowhead, where property was a bit cheaper, but it was a very strange time. Good. I'm very, like I said, thankful to have been a part of it, but it was hard. It was
Those bastards.
the lessons I learned. It was some hard lessons to be learned, but all good. In the long run, it's all good. The character went from coming in on page 6 to coming in on page 67.
But that's what it's like for most people, actually.
And many actors, kind of go through.
Unless it's TV.
Except you don't expect it to be that big of a phenomenon.
That was huge.
It was just huge.
It was huge.
Of course, it probably if I think about the most positive experience, we want to build a house. And we had, and I was down to my last bit of money, so my wife and I, we sat down and we thought, okay, well, we got like $150 in the account, so how are we going to do this? We're going to do that. We kind of planned it out, and I went to the credit union, and I looked and had a balance of like $40,000. And I'm like, I think there's a mistake here, because she says, no, I don't think so. I said, yeah, if I had $40,000, I'd know. But actually, the first residual had come in, and it was a huge residual. So that was a positive. So
Your first residual
first
check.
Residual from
Now you're
Ghostbusters
making
stuff.
14 cents on that movie.
Yeah, now it's 14 cents. Yeah.
What was your big one? Was Jurassic Park the first one that was just huge for you, where you got to experience like that level
Yeah.
of recognition?
Yeah, for sure.
And you were an adult, and you had already done it. Did it amaze you how much it changed when you hit that level of pop culture?
Just in terms of daily recognition, that you're wherever you are in the market or whatever people are coming up to, particularly kids, like probably now, and I guess for my life, like each generation of child since we've made the movie.
Sees it?
Yeah. And
My kid's
now
gonna be
my
ready for
fellas
it,
children, they're seeing the movie. Every 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, as they get to that age, because it is this remarkable obsession with all of us in childhood are dinosaurs for some reason. It's, I guess, maybe always going to be that way.
No, people love it. And
So-
plus, it's done so well. And it's Spielberg, so it has a
Yeah.
real.
I
Blows my
remember
mind.
her calling
Yeah.
me when she was making it, and she said, I've got to talk to you because I'm so freaked out, because all day long I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at nothing. And she said, I don't know what these things are going to be like. I mean, people are trying to tell me, but, and it's such a weird well, you had some of this too with
It's
Ghostbusters,
weird, isn't it?
that you're having these like
Surely
huge-
I'm overacting.
Yeah,
It couldn't be that scary.
couldn't be. And you kept saying, I've never had to be so trusting. Luckily, you're trusting, a genius. But
It could have been bad special effects, and you were looking
I
at the
mean,
worst actor in the world.
But you are really flying blind. It's just
So
guessing.
blind.
But how psyched were you when you saw it? Because it's a great movie.
I loved it. And I loved the dinosaurs. You know what I
it
mean?
was
Because I'm
so
watching them
great.
for the first time and terrified for the first time.
Yeah.
So how did you end up with that role? Was it an audition or?
He just seen me in a couple of other movies and decided that I was the person to play the part. And I remember thinking it was odd. I mean, I thought it was odd that he thought of me for the part, and he was very sweet and very funny, thinking that I would not want to do it. He told me later he remembers telling one of the other actors, and he said, I know she's not going to want to do this because I really need her, like, hanging off the side of the ceiling and having dinosaurs that aren't there jump at her, and she's probably going to hate this idea because I'd just done this sort of like introverted movie, and so he
Was it
figured
before or
that
after Citizen Ruth? I can't remember.
It was before. It was like I think the movie I did after Rambling Rose, and that was the movie he'd just seen. So it's not like you see Rambling Rose
Really?
and think, God, she's got to be in
I'd love to see
Jurassic
Dinosaur.
Park.
Rambling Rose, and you think there's a great actor. That's why
Or
I
if you're
want it.
young and you see it, you're like, man, she's hot.
And she's hot, yeah.
All the psychological
Yeah,
drama
yeah.
is lost on you. You're
Everybody
like,
wanted to be that boy.
Cheers was sort of the was that what put you, because it was, what was before that, Onion Field?
Onion Field and Body Heat.
Body Heat.
Amazing
Larry
Body Heat.
Kasdan. Both the films were very kind of serious-minded films. Harold Becker, and it was about a real policeman who, it was a real story. So and all the cops were still around, and the family were around. So it was really, felt more like a pilgrimage. It felt like you were doing something good for policemen. And then Body Heat, Larry Kasdan was extraordinary. He had storyboarded that 3 times before he actually shot it. So he'd shoot 1/3 of a master and 1/4 of a close-up. And you can take the script that I auditioned with and go look at the movie, and it is literally like conducting a symphony. It's all, literally, everything is on the page, is there, in that order and everything.
That's very unusual.
Yeah, it is,
Very
I'm
unusual.
sure.
And how do you go from that to now you're just looking for work?
Right after Body Heat, I went to see the top 10 directors. It was like Peter Weir, all of these people. And I went, actually, that's when I first met Mary, too. I auditioned for Cross Creek.
This was when you were auditioning for Cheers?
No, before Cheers, right
Before
after
Cheers.
Body Heat.
And that's
and
when
it
you
was
met
funny.
each other, you knew each other.
Yeah.
So why is it, do you think, that a director will say, I know I've seen Ted, I know everything he's done, I know Ernie, I know Mary, they've got to read.
They're scared. They're unsure. And the minute that they think they can't get you, watch how fast it's not important that you read. It's all a matter of what you're scared of, and directors are scared shitless because they're scared of not knowing, they're scared of this, they're scared of that. If it's an unproven commodity, you want to see what type of choices they make. But it's just if they ruin it. It's also to find out how smart somebody is when you see them read. You see how actory they get, and then you see how smart their choices are. But those are the only 2 things you could really judge.
Because you're not going to see the part yet. I mean,
No.
or I certainly can't do that. I don't know how to audition a
I don't
part.
either. I'm the worst.
I've tried to actually audition for a few things because I wanted to sort of, do that muscle, or because it was something the only way I get
can't even
it.
imagine that, Mary, honestly. I can't imagine who would want you to make you read for something. The only thing would be to see what you look like.
Yeah.
And then have a meeting, right? I mean, have them
I
come
think a
in.
meeting
and-
would, but I think sometimes it's almost, we really want someone else. We're pretty clear on that, or maybe we're in negotiation, but let's just have Murray come in and have a read anyway, and let's see if something weird gets in there.
I think you're right.
You can only do yourself harm. That's the
I agree.
feeling I got.
I
And
agree.
I think over the last 8 years, I've only gotten 1 job from a reading, and that's the job I have now. It's the only job I've gotten. Usually, the work is from someone saying, I've seen your work and want to work with you. But every time I go in and read, you just know it's just not.
Yeah.
My dad and I had a conversation about a meeting he had with the director who asked him if he felt he could be menacing. Which is fantastic.
I'm a wild angel.
Yeah, right?
I invented the biker genre.
Those openings where they have the families come because it was Disney. And then they have the red carpet and they're interviewing the kids. And they're interviewing my younger kid about seeing the movie. When all of a sudden he said, move, and they pushed him out of the way. And they shut, move, get back. And Jodie Foster had just come in, so they really wanted to get to her.
Welcome to the
and
real
you go,
world.
yeah, there it is.
You're like,
Where
don't
you
worry, it
are.
happens to me too.
Exactly. So
I
it's
take it personally.